We all grew up on Beyond Belief, fact or fiction. If you were in your 20s watching Gravity Falls like me, then you were in middle school glued to the television watching this show every Friday night, guessing which stories were true. Of course, I'm sure the true stories were embellished to hell and back, but we didn't think about that back then. Today, I want to focus on one segment in particular, the Mystery of Douglas Hibbard. I found the story it's based on in a book called Things That Go Bump in the Night, but more about that later. The episode is from Season 4, Episode 11. Douglas is coming out of a business meeting in Eureka, California. He has a 5-hour drive back home to Concord. Douglas has the flu and doesn't want to make the drive, so his wife advised him to stop off and stay at a motel for the night. The next day would be their wedding anniversary.
Don't worry. I'll be home for our anniversary tomorrow.
Okay. Well, you just take care of yourself and get plenty of rest.
That's an important detail for this iteration. So he finds a motel and gets a room after a brief chat with the front desk clerk. That night, he can't sleep due to his flu symptoms. I remember having the vid, and all I did was sleep. Coming in and out of consciousness, watching Jackie Chan flicks, it was amazing. But for whatever reason, Douglas Hibbard couldn't sleep. So that night, he went to the front desk asking about a nearby drugstore.
I'm looking for an open drugstore nearby.
Yeah. You just follow Crystal Lake Drive for about a mile.
Yeah.
And then you come to the first light, take a right, Stanley's Drugs. Can't miss it.
Thanks.
It's a nice nod to the actor playing Douglas, who was in Jason Takes Manhattan. He heads out, and we cut to him coming back sometime later. He's soaking wet, with a deadpan, disheveled look about him. The clerk asks if he's okay, but ignoring the question, and with a monotonous tone, he gives the clerk a box and says,
I need you to put this in the motel safe for me. I'm afraid I might lose it.
What is it?
Thank you.
Later that night, Doug's wife calls the front desk asking for a welfare check for him because he's not answering his phone. The clerk goes but doesn't find any sign that Douglas ever made it back to his room. As he comes back to the desk, he's greeted by a police officer asking if Douglas Hibbard was checked in there. The clerk's like, yeah, why? What of it? The officer says he's dead. But when the clerk says that's impossible, he just talked to him a few minutes ago, the cop says that's impossible because we just pulled his car out of Crystal Lake and his body was in it. The clerk checks on the box Douglas gave him, and sure enough, it was still locked inside the safe. The next morning, the wife comes to get his belongings and opens the box. It was a wedding ring Douglas was gonna gift her as an anniversary gift. He couldn't afford a ring when they first got married, so this was gonna be the year he made up for it. Truly sad stuff. And that concludes that segment of the show, but years later, I bought a book called Things That Go Bump in the Night because I was a dork. It's an excellent read though, and just like Beyond Belief, it's a book full of different stories and events, so you never get bored like you would if you had to read a whole novel. In this book, there's a segment called The Strange Disappearance of Thomas Meehan. It gives more of a timeline of the events that actually took place. So, in February 1963, Thomas Meehan was leaving Eureka for a 5-hour drive back to Concord. That adds up. I actually Google mapped it and it all pans out. By all accounts, he did call his wife and she did tell him to stay at a motel. If I called my wife, even if I was sick with the flu, I don't think she'd tell me to stay at a motel. I mean, me? Stay at a motel? Some sleazy motel where my morals might be tempted? She'd tell me just drive on through the night, cause I drive for a living and 5 hours won't kill me. She thinks I'm cuter than I actually am. It's flattering really, not toxic at all. So he leaves at 2 p.m., finds a motel called the 40 Winks Motel by 5. The motel is situated in Humboldt County, a few hours down from Eureka. To give you an idea of his surroundings, Humboldt County is a forested area. You may have seen the picture of that drive-through tree. Well, this is where that's located. By 6, he's at a hospital trying to see a doctor. Around 6:45, he told a nurse he felt as if he were dead. And that's why I don't like to talk like that. I don't like to talk in that omen type crap. I was raised Catholic as fuck and everything you say is counted against you. I can't even go into specifics to explain what I mean without jinxing myself or saying something where God might punish me. I'm 38 and I still believe this. The indoctrination runs deep. I can't even call out my luck when it's good because I'll ruin it. But enough about me. After 6:45, the nurse noticed Meehan disappeared. Around 7 p.m., a random couple told an officer in Humboldt County that they seen taillights veer off the road and into the Eel River. And that's eel as in those water snake creatures that Ursula was playing with in The Little Mermaid. At 8 p.m., the motel owner, Chip Nunamaker, was talking to Meehan. He noted that Meehan had asked if he looked dead. He said he felt as if he died and the whole world died with him. Nunamaker also noted that Meehan was soaking wet and muddy. At 9 p.m., he went to his room. So, a lot more is happening in the real timeline than what Beyond Belief led on. Meehan leaves Eureka at 2, checks into a motel 3 hours down the road at 5. At 6, he's at a hospital trying to see a doctor. A nurse noticed he's gone at 6:45. A couple tells a cop that they seen a car drive into the river at 7. Meehan is in his motel talking to the owner at 8, and he retires to his room at 9. Alright, you with me so far? Let's continue. At 9:30 p.m., a motel employee named Harry Young went to Meehan's room to tell him a call he put through to his wife couldn't be completed due to a storm in the area. It's the 60s, I don't really understand what that means. To put a call through, in this context at least, why would Meehan tell the staff to call his wife for him? I'm assuming motels had phones in each room. Why couldn't he call her himself? Sorry, I'm getting tripped up by the smallest things here. Young noticed that Meehan changed out of his muddy wet clothes and put on a black suit and white shirt. At 10:45 p.m., the highway patrol pulled out Meehan's car from the Eel River. They found blood on top of the car and the front passenger window was open. There was also footprints that led up the riverbank for 30 feet before abruptly disappearing. There was no trace of Meehan in the area. His body was found 19 days later and 16 miles downstream in the same river that his car was submerged in. The autopsy revealed that Meehan survived the initial crash, only suffering superficial head wounds. His actual cause of death was drowning. The book then starts to speculate on whether his spirit projected itself to hospital staff and motel employees after his death. It doesn't say what clothes he was wearing when they found him though. But I'm willing to bet that he was in the black suit and white shirt that Harry Young seen him in. It's not really hard to understand what really happened here. Douglas Meehan was sick enough to stop at a motel when he was just 2 hours away from his house. He went to a hospital, got tired of waiting,
Get me a doctor now!
decided to drive back to the motel, but swerved into the river. We know that there was bad weather in the area, so that, combined with the heavy illness he was feeling, contributed to him losing control of his vehicle. The impact caused him to hit his head, causing a concussion, but in a fugue state, he was able to climb out of the passenger window, climb up the riverbank, and make his way back to the motel. He conversed with the staff and made his way to his room. After changing at some point in the night, he went back to look for his car. He went to the wrong area, lost his footing, and fell into the river. In his concussed sick state and bad weather combined, he couldn't fight the current and drowned, floating the 16 or so miles downriver. That's my theory at least. It's a strange enough event to get a segment on Beyond Belief. I just thought it was cool to come across the story and wanted to share it. Let me know what you thought of this story. Let me know what other stories from the show you thought were interesting. Give me a like and subscribe. It motivates me to do better. That's all I got for now. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.